absolutely desperate.
Israel's military claims it targeted groups posing threats and accused Hamas of creating chaos. AP's Charles de Ledesma reports that the Syrian government has started evacuating Bedouin families from Suaida in a bid to end week-long clashes.
Noor Mohammed, a Syrian Bedouin from Al Dor village, left with her children to escape shooting targeting her home. Washing her clothes by hand in a house under construction in Buzra al-Harar near Dara, Noor says, "We were scared for our children because the bullets were hitting our houses, so we came here." Noor's living in one room of an unfinished house that's shared with 5 families. The clashes between militias of the Druze religious minority and Sunni Muslim clans have killed hundreds and threatened to unravel Syria's already fragile post-war transition. According to the United Nations International Organization of Migration, more than 128,000 individuals have been displaced since the clashes began. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Meanwhile, Russia launched one of its largest aerial assaults on Ukraine in recent months. It came hours before the UK and Germany met to discuss President Trump's plans for NATO allies to provide weapons to Ukraine. This is AP News. Harvard University will appear in federal court today to make the case that the Trump administration illegally cut $2.6 billion from the Ivy League school. Alaska Airlines is back in the air after an IT outage. The AP's Jennifer King reports.
Alaska Airlines has resumed operations after a technical problem Sunday night. The Seattle-based company says it experienced an IT outage that affected its entire system and led to a temporary ground stop for 3 hours from 8 to 11 p.m. Pacific time. That kept aircraft for all Alaska flights and its subsidiary Horizon Airlines from taking off. Alaska posted it will take some time to get operations back to normal as they reposition aircraft and crews. I'm Jennifer King.
Pope Leo marked the 56th anniversary of man's arrival on the moon with a visit to the Vatican Astronomical Observatory in Castel Gandolfo and made a call to astronaut Buzz Aldrin. More stories at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. An extreme heat watch will go into effect here Wednesday morning. We're looking at areas of haze at times here for today. Otherwise, skies become mostly sunny with a high in the mid-80s. Winds out of the east around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low near 68. By Tuesday, sunshine, high of 88 degrees. Wednesday, sunny and hot, a high of 97. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 72.
DQ presents How to Make Your Summer Take Flight. Just head into DQ for our new Superman Cake Batter Cookie Dough Blizzard Treat. Treat your inner hero to an epic mix of sugar cookie dough, sprinkles, and cake batter flavor. Blend it all with legendary DQ soft serve, and it's enough to tempt Superman himself. Fly into DQ for our new Superman Cake Batter Cookie Dough Blizzard Treat before it's gone. And don't miss Superman, only in theaters July 11th. DQ, happy tastes good. Only at participating locations.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chu.
Good Monday morning, progressives, and welcome to the July 21st, 2025 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. And yes, that's the Credo mobile phone and text line. Give us a call, 773-763-9278. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and email me, of course, at richard@wcpt820.com. Catch me on Substack. Most definitely catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There you can get Choose Views, Joan Esposito, Live, Local, and Progressive, Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and all of our other shows and interviews. Why? Because there's good stuff there. That's our Heartland Signal. digital platform. That's what I'm talking about. Make your way over there. Every day we talk about it for a good reason, because you've got lots of good clips, and Heartland Signal on X allows you to have those clips in your own little box of information that you're reviewing and you're sharing and doing all those good things. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I hope everybody was out and about. The weather kind of held up. I mean, we got some rain in the region, but for the most part, weather held up, and I'm glad that people were hopefully able to get out and do some fun things this weekend. And that's always my hope on Fridays. And then on Monday, I hope everybody executed that plan. But on today's show, did I get that right, Devin? Is that good? Okay, cool. Today's show, we will have our good friend Sarah Jones from Politicus USA to chat about a little bit of some of the things she's been writing, and a couple of course, current issues. And then political strategist Mike Nellis will be with us in the 7:30 hour, and he and I are going to talk about a little bit of everything, as I always say with Mike. And that's at 7:30. Sarah will be with us in the 7 o'clock hour, and I will definitely be taking your calls and your text messages in the meantime as we work through our first hour of the show today. But right now, check this out, progressives.
Something that needs to happen that I think will make every single person watching this video very happy. Here's my idea. If you didn't see the news today, the Trump administration sent out letters to all the countries of the world informing them of what level of tariff they will pay unless they come to the negotiating table. Here's my idea to make this a joy for everyone. Donald Trump loves getting up in front of a group of reporters. It's one of the few things I think he actually enjoys about this job. So here's what I need to have happen. One of you beautiful reporters, raise your hand and ask Donald Trump the next time you have the opportunity, Mr. Trump, how do you feel the nation of Wakanda will respond to your tariff letter? And then just sit back and let him go. It'll be a thing of beauty. He'll be like, well, Wakanda has very strongly come back and said they're willing to negotiate, because he's just going to lie. He'll just lie and say how much Wakanda respects him. It'll be beautiful. And even if you're on the right, you'll think it's funny. I think it's a win all around. Somebody please get a hold of a reporter and make this happen, please.
I think that's a brilliant idea. That's a clip that was sent to me by a friend of my wife's that thought that I would appreciate it, and it's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, he would. If you think about that, the fact I tie that to the insanity of the moment when it comes to Trump and not knowing certain things about other leaders, particularly those from nations on the continent of Africa. And you guys saw the insult about that he made a week or so ago with the one leader in terms of him speaking English, and that whole just disturbingly disgusting bit of Donald Trump. But that being said, I thought that was a good clip, and it would be funny if a reporter were to ask him that question. And you never know. I mean, sometimes these people, I shouldn't say it that way. Sometimes various journalists pick up on things, and, it's all of a sudden it's in the conversation. So that would be a cool thing to see happen during one of his press conferences. Or better yet, I mean, or not, maybe not better yet, but inclusive yet, is if a reporter were to ask Caroline Leavitt a question like that, just to see if she's paying attention. Or here's one for you, Devin, if she's even seen the movie Black Panther. That would really, okay, so let's play this out. Devin's a movie guy. Devin's an art guy. He loves a variety of different things, and I know he stays up on a ton of stuff. Sports, movies, entertainment, the whole nine. But wouldn't that be interesting if a reporter, could you imagine if you and I were sitting in that press room and you raised your hand, and you knowing that I got your back. If you raise your hand, he's got the wry smile, guys. You raised your hand and said, excuse me, Caroline, I wanted to ask you a question. How do you think the president's policies and tariffs and so forth are going to impact the nation of Wakanda? I would probably pay money. I would certainly buy your airplane ticket and hotel room for you and me. to be able to be in a press room and have Devin raise his hand and ask that question. I'm having a menopause moment right now. I think it's funny. You guys probably think Richard's lost his mind and it's only Monday. But think about that. Devin and I roll into D.C. We're in the, in a Caroline Levitt press conference, and he raises his hand and says, Caroline, I have a question for you. How do you think the country of Wakanda the nation of Wakanda is going to deal with the tariffs from Donald Trump? And what would be interesting to see is a couple things. One, how she initially reacts, like what her facial expression would be. Like, oh, that's a good question, journalist Devin. That would be, and her first reaction is a question of, well, I'm not sure about and she goes down. I think that the internet would break if she went down the path without catching and going, excuse me, sir, but, and then, said, we all know that the country of the nation of Wakanda is, from a movie, blah, blah, blah. But I think that she would be so immersed in trying to prove to everybody that she's the smartest person in the room that she'd probably take the bait. We know that Trump would take the bait. There's no question about it. So when that was said to me, I thought, man, that would just be so great to see someone like that have a journalist ask that kind of a question. So there you go, guys. Welcome to Monday. Welcome to the insanity of Choose Views. And of course, our Credo mobile phone and text line is 312. That's my phone number. Don't call there. Call 773-763-9278. So we can take your calls and we can chat with you. And certainly send us a text if you got something to say and you don't want to call in to the show. But give yourself go ahead and let yourself call in. We'll chat with you. We'll talk with you. I'm sure you have something to say. Man, oh man, where do we start? We have so many things that we will chat about today, and I'm going to start off with a couple of Choose Views news items before we go to this first break. And I just don't even know what to say about this. But I have so much to say, but I'll say this to start. Disgraced astronomer CEO resigns. Astronomer CEO Andy Byron has resigned, the IT firm said over the weekend, specifically on Saturday, days after the video that quickly went viral showed him cuddling with the company's chief people officer at a Coldplay concert in Gillette Stadium in Massachusetts. Our leaders are this is a quote, our leaders are expected to set the standard in both conduct and accountability, and recently that standard was not met, the company stated. Peter DeJoy, Astronomer's co-founder and chief product officer, will serve as interim CEO during a search for Byron's successor. Now, there's so many things that's happening in this space. There's so many comments about it, and yes, our leaders need to be representative of the organizations that they lead, on and on. But guys, have you seen the different clips and memes? I mean, it's happening all over. And you can't even, turn on the internet or go to your phone or any of the things that you follow and not see, especially at baseball stadiums right now, where there's somebody, there was even a couple of mascots that were pretending to do, to be the same. You've probably seen that. So it's crazy. But anyhow, he's decided to step aside, so he's resigning, actually. There you go. EU is poised for the tariff retaliation. What does that mean? With the August 1st deadline looming and diplomatic talks stalling, European Union officials are scheduled to meet, quote, as early as this week to discuss additional countermeasures in the event of a no-deal outcome with President Donald Trump, according to Bloomberg. The U.S. has recently escalated its demands, pushing for broad blanket tariffs in EU imports, ranging from 15% to 20%, according to the Financial Times. In response, the EU bloc is considering new measures, including implementing anti-coercion instruments, though a negotiated solution is a preferred one. But Trump doesn't know how to negotiate, so I don't know. Good luck in that space. Post-COVID RTL gender gap widens. More men and women have returned to the office post-pandemic, creating a growing gender gap, according to the Wall Street Journal. The Labor Department survey reports that while remote work has allowed many women to stay in the workforce amid the demands of home and family, the flexibility can limit career advancement and mentorship opportunities. Companies increasingly reward presence in the office, raising concern that women working remotely may be left behind. All right. Economists are warning that these trends may further entrench gender inequality in the workplace. So we'll pay attention to that. The tax bill is threatening office snacks. An overlooked aspect of tax policy may leave a bad taste in some workers' mouths. The U.S. government's latest spending bill fails to renew a corporate tax deduction for employee meals and snacks. After December 31st, companies will no longer be able to write off some expenses related to feeding employees. It remains to be seen what will happen to cafeterias and break rooms once the carve-out expires. But the change comes at a time when employers are already struggling to lure staff back into offices. That's just silly. Now the companies that are trying to do the right thing and provide a benefit for their employees, that benefit's going to be taken away, and businesses are going to do what? They're going to recoup it somehow, either by reducing compensation, trying to increase hours. The tariffs are a dumb move, America. They just are. Let's take a quick break, guys. It's already 6:17. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line. We'll be right back.
With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new Care Watch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The Care Watch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. The Care Watch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. Call us to get your Care Watch right now.
800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. That's 800-741-5819.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chew.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on WCPT 820. Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, progressives. Welcome back to the show. 773-763-9278. We're going to talk about a few things today, but I wanted to make sure I give you some tips and heads up on what you can find over at the Heartland Signal website. U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth claims Donald Trump's administration is basically in speeches to different service members and the service members that he spoke to last month that they were trying to do he was trying to pass a message on to them that was MAGA exclusive. So you want to check that one out. And also what she talks a bit about in terms of his military parade being a waste of money. Let's see what else looks good for you guys to check out. The Cleveland Browns owner purchased a $25 million Florida mansion after receiving a $600 million taxpayer funding for the new stadium. How about that? Another example of taxpayers paying for uber wealthy folks, toys. And that's just kind of how I see it. But make your way over to Heartland Signal on X. There's some great content there, great clips and posts and articles that you guys will want to check out. And I'm sure you'll be happy with what you find there, and you can share it with the people that you care about, as we always say, because I want you to do that. So We've got a couple of clips that Devin and I put together that I think you guys will be pleased to hear. The other day, I talked about the people at some of the ICE members, if you want to call them that, because some people are skeptical about them actually being ICE officers. So I'll use the word members for now. But in respect to the process, some of the ICE officials and officers were resigning because of this whole concern around their compensation and what they were really being compensated for. And I guess some of them kind of got a conscience about what they should or should not be doing in this space. I had another clip that we put together from a gentleman that talked about the fact that ICE's compensation had, he did a very quick comparison to the compensation that ICE officers are getting in relationship to school teachers. So just want you guys to hear this one real quickly.
ICE is offering a $45,000 signing bonus plus a $100,000 starting salary. A teacher in her 8th year with a master's degree will make $55,000. It was never true that we don't have enough money to pay teachers more. It was always intentional. Education has been intentionally defunded for decades because an educated populace is a threat to power. Read the books, do the work. They are absolutely terrified of education.
And that leads to this conversation or partners with this conversation around the Department of Education being gutted out, defunded. I said this a week or so ago that I don't know the exact educational prior to college and law school of the 6 judges on the Supreme Court that are the radical right, criminal right, if you want my opinion. And I'm talking about not their judgments, but some of the things that they've been able to receive as judges, which we've all which has been documented, starting with Clarence. But if they went to public school or if they didn't go to public school, the Department of Education, just by its sheer existence, has had an impact on their schooling, on their educational lifetime, in their educational lifetime. It certainly didn't hurt them because, look, they're all, I dare say that they're making it to the Supreme Court, the public education system or the private education system or any part of the Department of Education did not negatively impact them. So to give the president the ability to gut something that's going to help millions, and has for decades and would continue, and is currently helping millions of people, is frankly just flat out selfish. So I juxtapose that, as you guys know, I make these some sort of compare and contrast with this whole thing around ICE and their compensation. But we don't have enough money to pay teachers in public schools, and the list goes on. And we here in Chicago, we've got our issues. I fully recognize that, and I know that some of you might be screaming at the phone or the device or whatever. But we've got our education issues here in Chicago, as many big cities do, because they're big cities. That's kind of what you run into. But the rural communities I'm concerned about as well, because a lot of their access to things like, we talked about this with the internet and PBS and access to information. It's not just formal education. It's education that comes from some of the supplemental tools. But we can pay ICE to go round up people, but we can't find ways to pay teachers. And I know that funding for education is a state thing. I get that. I'm not stupid. I'm just saying from a broader conversation about how we look at education in America. We want to be a great country and competitive with other countries in the world. That starts, I've said this for years. It starts with, frankly, overfunding education, making sure there's too much doggone money, not to the point of waste, fraud, and abuse, to use this current language. But why not make sure that there's a surplus with our educational systems? And I got nothing against private schools in terms of starting private schools from kindergarten through 12th grade. Got no issues with that. But don't take money from the private schools and pump it into, from the public school systems and pump it into the private schools indirectly in these different sort of, sleight of hand maneuvers that they try to implement on a state level and then try to have support of that on a federal level by having federal legislation block educational funds for public schools. I'm not down with that. I've said for the longest time, I'll say it again and I'll say it again and again. One of the best tools for defense in our country, I said it last week, is to make sure that we've got a well-educated, well-fed, healthy community. When we take care of some of those baseline issues, that's going to be one of our best tools of defense in terms of making us great. Adding more money to our defense budget, and now this whole thing with adding, all this money that's being thrown at ICE because of this doggone bill is insanity. There's people running around that don't know enough about what's going on in our country because of the fact that education wasn't made a priority. It wasn't made an important tool. So I just feel like, and some might say this, you can't make this comparison. I can make any comparison I want to if I stop and think about it. But when it comes to spending money, ICE, to round up people versus, how about let's round up some children and put them into good educational programs. And I don't mean literally rounding up children, so nobody lose their mind over that. But let's put some money toward those conversations. Let's make sure that our children are not wanting for anything in schools. I mean, it's not a good business plan. Not only does it not make sense, it's just not good business. We want to make sure that we are supporting and propping up our systems. One of the key ones has to be the education of our society. And so to tear down the Department of Education, meanwhile pumping up ICE so that Stephen Miller can have his late night, dream be fulfilled of having a country that looks just like him. I'll be honest with you. If it's going to be a white dude, I'd rather have my country look like my man Devin than look like Stephen Miller. And here's the thing with Stephen Miller. Nobody's ever punched that dude in the face to the point where Devin's nodding his head like, yeah. I mean, there's I don't know, speculation or whatever from people that said that, in school, in high school, he was bullied and picked on and all that. Okay, not enough. Y'all don't take that literally. But you get my point. No one's dressed him down and stopped him from this carnage, and it needs to be stopped. From all the things that I've been reading and the reporting that I've been listening to, he is at the tip. He's at the tip of the spear of the person that's pushing this agenda of having, with the assistance of, bless you, Devin, with Russell Vaught, having this white male Christian women stay at home barefoot and pregnant society. He wants to whittle down the country's population to 100,000. So then what about this other side of the, I'm not, sorry, 100,000. Devin looked at me like, no, Rich, you mean 100 million, don't you? Yes, I meant 100 million. He wants to whittle the country down to 100 million people by getting rid of people. First of all, the country would collapse if we did that. Just take away the whole insanity part of it and all the rest. The country would collapse on itself. We would not be the United States of America. We'd be the United States of nothing. But let's go back to Stephen Miller before we go to this break. This dude needs to be pulled aside and straightened up and flown right. Because to take the country down to that kind of number and of people that, quote, look like him would be... And this is what's so shameful about the Republicans. And I thought about this yesterday. They know what this dude is all about. They're talking about the House Republicans and the House Senate and other Republicans throughout the country. Don't you all understand what this dude is doing to your people too? That's the part that just continually, just makes me go, wow. And I know that what Nancy Pelosi said about the fear and all that, I get that. But good God. ICE getting compensated what they're getting compensated. Meanwhile, we can't or won't pay teachers and educators. All right, let's take a quick break, guys. We'll grab some calls when we come back. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line, and we'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
Do we have a helper with our governor, J.B. Pritzker? I'm so proud of him for getting up and saying something and for letting this administration know that, like, don't mess with Illinois.
Yeah.
He has been a huge ally to the LGBTQ community his entire life.
Yes.
Like his entire career. He married people in his backyard before it was legal.
Yeah, I remember when we had all three gubernatorial candidates on when he ran for the first time. Pritzker was the one I was least leaning towards until he came in the studio and told his story about as a child being taken to Castro Street by his mother to watch the Pride Parade. Mm-hmm. And I listened to him and I said, man, you come by it honestly. It is in your DNA. I became a huge fan that day. We had him in and I continue to be. I think we're really lucky.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. An extreme heat watch will go into effect here Wednesday morning. We're looking at areas of haze at times here for today. Otherwise, skies become mostly sunny with a high in the mid-80s. Winds out of the east around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low near 68. By Tuesday, sunshine, high of 88 degrees. Wednesday, sunny and hot, a high of 97. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 72.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
It's Choose View with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Progressives, welcome back to Choose View, 773-763-9278. And I say progressives, and I say liberals, and Democrats, and Republicans, and folks in the middle, and folks that are deciding that they have to get away from that MAGA thing. All of y'all are welcome. We want you to be part of the party because it's time that people step up. And this is why I say on every show, it's about fighting. I'm a lot of times when I hear people say, well, you don't talk about this enough, you don't talk about that enough. I get it. We want to try to be all-encompassing and talk about everything that we can when we can. But, just be mindful of the fact that there are a lot of issues that we've got to resolve. But the number one issue that we have to resolve is people not being in the fight. It just is. That's the biggest issue, because as we've seen and let me position it this way: we know that the Democratic elected officials in Congress in Washington don't have the numbers. On a state basis, we have more situations where we do have the numbers, where we've got trifectas or we've got 2 out of the 3 chambers. That's where and why I say so often, if not every day, every show, to get involved. Because if we can sustain things on a state level and make changes there and help our leaders on a state level be prepared for the carnage that can come from this bill and other things that are happening from the Trump regime, then we have a way of creating a little bit of a firewall so that we can get in and do things like changing things with the tariffs and with ICE and with the Electoral College and with any of the rights that have been taken away from people and people being or departments of the federal government being gutted, which then has an impact on the state that you live in. No matter what you want to do about putting your head in the sand about it, won't impact us. We get the states back as best we can. That is a huge firewall, and it helps our state elected officials be able to do the job that they need to do when it comes to the work that they've got to get done. So just to kind of bring that to you guys to let you know. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening here today. Live, local, and progressive. Joan Esposito will be talking to Mark Jacob and Jennifer Schulze with our regular media hour journalist David Levitin of Splinter.com and Democratic lawyer Michael Dorff. That's live, local, and progressive weekdays 2 to 5 p.m. Central Time. Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years. That's WCPT. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty's guests will include Jan Lancaster of the Bloomington Normal Pride Fest taking place this Saturday, Anita Locke, chair of the Democratic Party of Walworth County, Wisconsin, and Dr. Christian Layerly, OBGYN plaintiff in a lawsuit challenging Wisconsin's pre-Civil War abortion law. and host of the Christian Lyerly Show on Civic Media. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays, 5 to 7 p.m. Central, here on WCPT 820. Heartland Signal website, tune in, YouTube, and Facebook. Tomorrow on Choose Views, Chris Percy of Black Bench Chicago will be with me, and Congresswoman and candidate for U.S. Senate Robin Kelly will be with us. Be sure to tune in to Rick Smith Show as well, every weeknight, 7, and the Politics Bar with Jody Hamilton and Sean Smith Pierce, weekday, every weeknight at 8 p.m. There you go. All right. What else are we gonna? All right, let's grab a couple quick calls, Devin. Let's go to Pam here in Chicago. Good morning, Pam, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning, Richard. And I really wanted to stay focused on one thing, but you always put so much out there, Richard.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, Pam?
It's a great thing. It's a great thing because we need to have attention to all of it. It is a great thing. I didn't mean to say it like that. It is an absolute great thing. First, I just want to say voting. Let's concentrate on the people who want to vote and those that were suppressed. Let me just say that, Richard. The Democratic Party needs to look at the voter suppression techniques that caused Harris and Walz to lose and that could affect us in the future. That is critical.
Yep.
And I know there were a lot of people that didn't come out to vote. So let's talk about building our base on those people. And I'm not necessarily trying to win over Republican voters or those who supported this sexual predator, which brings me to my focus. Richard, the question is, why were so many people willing, to the tune of, I think he got, 78 million voters, I'm not sure. Pardon the hoarseness in my voice.
That's okay.
Why were so many people willing to vote for this sexual predator whose best friend for 15 years had been a child rapist and who had trafficked children for the specific purpose of rape by their friends, and I'm going to say family members, because you're never just alone in it.
Nope.
But we know for sure friends. And so I feel badly that, Harris, of course, she convicted and went after sex traffickers. I wish she had pushed that more, but I'm just asking why, and we have to ask these questions. We usually protect our children. Our children, Richard, are off limits.
Yeah, in all ways, in all venues, our children are off limits. They should be. The one thing, and this is a one thing, but with many legs to it, is to support them and to prop them up and to help them grow and become the citizens or whatever we want them to be. But doggone it, literally hands off. And I mean, listen, I'll just say this, and I know this is hopefully still part of your point.
And I'm asking that, Richard. I know you don't have the definitive answer, but I'm trying to make those people think who supported this adjudicated sexual abuser, because that's what he is.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, so Pam, let me come back to something that you said about about people who are that the 78 million that voted for this. It's not like that it wasn't there. It's not like there wasn't evidence and information there. And I so often go back to this, and I don't, maybe I don't do it enough. Is that we know that there are people who did not vote. We know that voter suppression took place in many different ways. Some of it was very literal. And I know that you've listened to some of the material from Greg Palast. Some of it's very literal voter suppression. Some of it's through the structure, frankly, of our antiquated electoral college system. We know that that we've got to get rid of that. But we also know that a lot of people's suppression was simply because the media made Donald Trump look like he was okay. And a lot of people just decided to not turn out because of that. And I think I don't want to put my thumb on anybody, but that to me is kind of an excuse. So,
sure.
But again, I'm saying this with all the sensitivity that I can say it, because I know that at the end of the day, why would you need any more information? Not you, Pam, but why would anybody need any more information when we've got all this smoke about Donald Trump's relationships and connections to people who had perpetrated these types of crimes on children or even been adjacent to it? Why would you want to vote for that person? Yet alone all the other list of things that we could always lean into. But right there, if you say you care about children and you care about, all these things that are child related, but you voted for a guy who in your heart of hearts, if you were standing at the precipice and they asked you, does this make sense to you or not, and your wrong decision gets you pushed over the cliff, it should have been that serious for people. And that's what's heartbreaking for me sometimes.
And that's all I'm asking. Why wasn't that a total disqualifier? And lastly, I'm going to say this to our Democratic leadership, because I know you're going to have some of them on, Representative Kelly. They need to look at their Republican colleagues with a jaundiced eye, I guess. They work with these people who claim to be their friends and colleagues, but your friends and colleagues hate your constituents, and their policies and legislation reflect that. I am no longer interested in a bipartisan relationship, or that the Democratic elected officials like to brag about it. Because when the Republicans go back to their people, they don't brag about working with the Democrats or what they put forth. So for me, I don't care about your colleagues being scared or afraid or too cowardly. You have to speak up. They can no longer whisper in your ear, well, we're afraid of Donald Trump and we're afraid that, if we come out, stop it.
Then leave.
You tell us every day to stand up to these criminals on the street, to stand up to people who are doing wrong. We need Democratic elected officials to stand up and call out your Republican colleagues, because they don't care about your constituents.
That's right. They don't at all. And I'm going to sort of weave that conversation into when I talk with Congresswoman Robin Kelly tomorrow. And as I did with Raja Krishnamurthy last week, it's like, listen, we got you. Just go swing the hammer. We got you. Stop,
and tell the truth.
And be willing. Listen, Pam. Be willing to come out of those congressional meetings and say, this is what we just heard. This is what they're talking about. This is what they're doing to block legislation and to put forth legislation that's going to hurt you. So, Pam.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Pam, for calling. Thank you for always being a contributor to the show. We appreciate it. Bye now. All right, so I want to come back to something that Pam said. I want to slightly unpack it, just a tiny amount. Not that she said something wrong. I want to make sure that I'm clear, because sometimes people may not hear this, but I want to be perfectly clear. When I talk about voter suppression, when I talk about that topic, voter suppression happens in some very overt ways and some very, very subversive, quiet ways. The quiet ways oftentimes are messaging. Okay, and I can dedicate a whole show, and maybe I should, in all due respect, to voter suppression. And maybe it's time to have Greg Palast back on, and we'll talk about that. But I want to be really clear about something in the space of voter suppression and the conversation around the Electoral College. One, it needs to be changed. It needs to be gotten rid of, candidly. Okay? We know it's antiquated, and we know where it's come from and why it's continued to be in place. Some people will lose their minds in certain states where they've got more voting power essentially per pound than people in other more densely populated states do. And I also want to say this and be perfectly clear for those that are in the cheap seats and don't pay attention. I know it takes having the numbers in Congress, both on the House and the Senate chamber. And it takes having the president in office to make any changes to not only the Electoral College, it also takes the coordination of the states as it relates to the Constitutional Congress. That has to happen. It's a layered piece of we have to have these pieces in place to make it work, to make it happen, to change it. So I don't want anybody to think that I don't get that. I don't care who you are, where you are in the country. That's what we know that that's what's got to happen. So we got to get the voters out, to go back to Pam's point. And I put these two together. We've got to have voters out voting so that we get people in place so that we can make those changes. That's what has to happen. So I don't want to hear this garbage about we can't do this, we can't do that. We can do it if we have the right people in place, but we have to have people out voting. And to Pam's point, we have to go after the people that did not vote, not the ones that voted for this garbage. If they want to come to the party, we got a seat for them in the back of the room. But it's the people that did not vote that we have to go and get. I've said that before, and you know I'm going to say it again. Just like I'm going to say 773-763-9278 is our Credo mobile phone and text line. Give us a call, but right now we're going to take a quick break. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. If you're over 50 and tired of your wireless bill getting higher and higher, there are 4 things to consider. 1, how much data are you really using? As we get older, we use less data on our wireless phone, but you're probably still paying for an unlimited plan that was designed for 20-somethings. 2, if you see Get a Phone on Us, get your sneakers out and run the other way. No one is giving you a free phone. You are paying for that phone over time with an overpriced rate plan and a long-term commitment. 3, check the fine print on that $15 a month plan. It's probably an intro price that'll double or triple later. You might even have to pay for several months of service up front. Number 4, be aware of cable company wireless plans. Most of your usage will be on Wi-Fi instead of 5G, and your calls and battery life could suffer. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get the same fast, reliable, nationwide service without the big wireless bill. Our plans start at just $20 a month.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/fax. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey, welcome back, guys. 773-763-9278. Let's go to Andrew real quickly in Detroit. Hey, good morning, Andrew. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Richard, what a great day. I get to follow Pam.
I know, right?
My God, I love her so much.
I know. She's been in the fight for a while, just like you have, man. So I know. That's a good feeling, right?
Yeah. Thank you for the show. Thank you for Devin. Thank you for everybody in the background that helps keep the show on the air.
Thank you so much. What's going on?
Thinking about education, Department of Education. I was listening over the weekend to C-SPAN, and I'm listening to these old geezers calling in, people my age. calling in and saying that the Department of Education has to go. Have you seen the test scores? The test scores are terrible. That department needs to... You people don't even know what you're talking about. The Department of Education has nothing to do with your children's test scores. And that's governed at the local level, your states. So don't be complaining about anything in the federal government being messed up. It's your own damn states.
Yep. You know what else, Andrew? Let's stack up. Let's do this. We know that it's state driven. We know that there's a federal part to this. But how about if we do this? How about if we stack up the blue states and the red states as it relates to educational outcome? And I think that's going to be the most revealing part of all this. We'll see that the red states are sufferingly poor in their educational prowess. Maybe Florida,
Absolutely.
Maybe Texas. Maybe, but the data is out there to show that the blue states have historically performed better when it comes to education on a K through 12 level, and that's because the blue states have done their best. Maybe not the best, maybe not to everybody's liking, but they've done their best to have better funding for the students in their public school systems. And then Chicago's got issues, Illinois' got issues, but I'd far rather be here for education than I would in a red state that doesn't want to see people get educated, period. I mean, that's a broad statement, but you get my point. So, Andrew, thank you for that. Thank you for that reminder about the states.
The other thing, if you've got another minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Our country has gotten so populated. There are so many people, and those institutions in Washington aren't big enough for what we need as representation. You look at the state of California has 2 senators. And then you look at Montana has 2 senators. Well, kind of nonsense, or even just one. But the number of Congress people, like in California, there's not enough Congress people to take care of the needs of the people in this country.
That's a great point. There needs to be a law.
And senators as well. I don't know if they have to build an ivory tower to put that many Congress people in, but that House is not big enough anymore. And this stuff needs to be looked at and fixed. And
well,
I don't know.
I'm gonna in the next segment, I'm going to talk with our good friend Sarah Jones from Politicus USA a little bit about what's happening with some changes, and of course, it's gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is the word, but also the fight that needs to be in this space right now, to the point that you just made. So, Andrew, thank you for being with us, and thanks for your contribution to the show as always. Have a great day today, okay?
Have a great day, Richard. Bye-bye.
Right, bye-bye. Man, I got to tell you, we got the folks who've been around for a minute, the Andrews and the Pams of the world. Respectfully, I say that, so neither one of you need to throw a brick at me, who recognize the importance of, they've been around a long enough time to recognize the importance of certain things that have to be in place for our country to continue to thrive and to go forward. So I've say this oftentimes about fighting, about punching back, about standing up and not matching the energy for the moment. And many of you guys who've called in have said your own versions of this. And I said this last week, and I'll say it again. People, we make a mistake, we recover, we either we apologize or we address it, and then we hope that we can move forward. And I definitely want to talk about the situation with Gavin Newsom. He's got his footing again, and he's saying the things that I think that drew a lot of people to him. And so we'll probably have a couple clips from him through the course of this week. But we've got one now that I just think that we really we should share with you guys as we get to the top of the hour. So Devin, let's take it away with this Gavin Newsom clip that we have.
Newsom, your personal and your governor's press office social media accounts have taken a much more aggressive tone over the last couple of weeks. Recently, the press office called Stephen Miller on Twitter. How do you differentiate yourself from Trump if you're using state and personal social media accounts to name call and attack him?
Well, it's a response to Stephen Chung in the White House and his use of that word. I don't think they understand any other kind of language, so I have no apologies for standing tall and firm and pushing back against their cruelty. And if it requires more clear language, requires a recognition that things have radically changed with Trump presidency, then I will assert myself as I feel fit. And I'll do so with clarity and conviction. The difference between Donald Trump and the Trump administration and the state of California and the work that's being done by many elected officials here is we don't just exercise our formal authority, we also exercise our moral authority.
And I think that the phrase or the words that really, draw me into what he was saying is we're going to stand tall. And we're going to meet the moment. We're going to meet the language with the language that's necessary, And I was one of the first people. I raise my hand again now that said what I said about who he had on his podcast. All right, lesson learned. Let's take that lesson and go forward. And the same thing with his position on trans athletes. Let's learn the lesson. Let's go forward and remember where you come from. But those are the words that need to be coming out of the mouths of Democrats. That's the pushback that has to happen in real time with mainstream media or a local reporter or whomever. In the moment, call it out right then and there. Don't wait 3 or 4 days. Be prepared. Because, see, here's the thing. Their game is simple. The media's game is very, very, it's not complicated. The mainstream media and other outlets, it's not complicated in what they're doing when they're in these rooms. They want to ask the gotcha question. So be prepared for the gotcha questions. That's all I'm saying to every single elected official on a state level, whether it be mayors, city council people, state legislators, federal, county, whatever. Just be prepared because that what they going to come with you come to you with. One of the things that I'm been very pleased to see from Mayor Johnson, and folks that aren't a fan of his, and some of people have made references to me online about my support of Mayor Johnson and believe I want him to succeed. Okay? So I'm not apologizing for wanting to have the mayor of the city of Chicago succeed and make a better place for all of us that are here. There's a lot of work to be done, and a lot of it was the lap that it got dropped in his lap, and he knows he signed up for it. But I'm here to support him and all of our other elected officials statewide to do the job and be successful at it. That, to me, is a positive, optimistic approach. Could others do better? I don't know. And that's not where my brain goes. My brain goes, let's support and help him do better. I say the same thing about our governor and all of our governors throughout the country that are Democratic governors. Let's help them succeed at doing a better job. Our state officials, our federal officials. That's not complicated for me. And why do I say it that way? It's because I don't want us to go down this path, because I know a lot of people they're just trolling. They're just looking for negativity. And I look at the comments that I get and the people who comment positively about how we move forward versus try to giving us reality checks. I would rather see a Gavin Newsom fix the thing that he did, that he didn't handle the right way, and improve and go forward, but speak in the moment. That's the point I'm making. Brandon Johnson here in Chicago, love him or not, he's speaking in the moment. He needs to do an even better job of it. But so does every elected official, because things run at real time. So they need to be more prepared to navigate when the media comes at them like they did to Gavin Newsom, and he was ready to deal with that garbage and put it down and let them know, I'm going to stand on business when it comes to this, 10 toes to the line. That's where that draws people to the conversation. The reason that J.B. Pritzker's popularity is what it is because he's getting stuff done, but he's getting it done by letting people know, this is what I'm going to do. If you don't like it, then vote for somebody else. But this is what the state needs, and this is what I'm trying to get done. And that's true for successful political leaders, is that they stand on the business that they believe in, which is generally going to be that which the majority of the people elected them for. So, right on for Gavin for saying what he's saying, and right on to others for saying what they're saying. We have the opportunity to let them know to keep doing that and to keep being strong in the face of this craziness. Because as they do that, and we do that, and we do that, and they do that, it builds a stronger consensus. I promise you that that's part of this conversation. It just is. So just keep that front face forward when you think about how we move forward. Let's take a quick break. It's top of the hour. The number is 773-763-9278. When we come back, we'll be talking with one of the leaders and voices today and from the Daily with Sarah Jones and Politicus. We'll be right back.
DQ presents How to Make Your Summer Take Flight. Just head into DQ for our new Superman Cake Batter Cookie Dough Blizzard Treat. Treat your inner hero to an epic mix of sugar cookie dough, sprinkles, and cake batter flavor. Blend it all with legendary DQ soft serve, and it's enough to tempt Superman himself. Fly into DQ for our new Superman Cake Batter Cookie Dough Blizzard Treat before it's gone. And don't miss Superman, only in theaters July 11th. DQ, happy tastes good. Only at participating locations.
Make your first lawn move with the reliable performance and power of Steel battery tools, hedge trimmers, mowers, string trimmers, and more. Shop in-store or online at steeldealers.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. A Bangladesh Air Force jet crashed into Dhaka's Milestone School and college campus this afternoon. At least 16 people were killed, including the pilot. Officials and local media reported dozens were also injured. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba says he'll stay in office after a weekend election defeat left his coalition with a minority in both parliamentary chambers. Iran says it will hold talks this week with European nations over its nuclear program. The discussions will be hosted by Turkey and are the first since a ceasefire was reached after a 12-day war waged by Israel against Iran in June. AP correspondent Julie Walker reports a request to unseal the Epstein grand jury transcripts are likely to disappoint.
Ex-federal prosecutors say a Justice Department request to unseal grand jury transcripts in the prosecution of chronic sex abuser Jeffrey Epstein and his former girlfriend Ghislaine Maxwell is unlikely to produce much, if anything, to satisfy the public's appetite for new revelations about the financier's crimes. Attorney Sarah Krisoff, who was an assistant U.S. attorney in Manhattan from 2008 to 21, calls the Justice Department request to unseal grand jury transcripts in Epstein and Maxwell's cases a distraction. The request came as supporters of President Trump blasted his administration for reneging on a vow to make public key evidence. Epstein killed himself in jail awaiting trial. Maxwell was found guilty of sex trafficking and is in prison. Julie Walker, New York.
Texas Republicans are set to redraw the state's congressional map during a special session that starts today. The move has been pushed by President Trump as a way to help the GOP retain control of the U.S. House in next year's midterm elections. This is AP News. President Trump is threatening to hold up a new stadium deal for the Washington Commanders if the team does not restore its old name of the Redskins. The president also added he wants the Cleveland Guardians baseball team to change their name back to the Indians. Both teams have said they have no plans to change their name. AP correspondent Mike Hempen reports the University of Mississippi's football team is mourning the death of a top recruit.
Law enforcement officials are investigating the death of Ole Miss freshman football player Corey Adams as a homicide. Adams was fatally shot Saturday night in Tennessee. The Shelby County Sheriff's Office says authorities found him with a gunshot wound inside of a vehicle on the outskirts of Memphis. Adams was pronounced dead on the scene. 4 other men suffered non-life-threatening gunshot wounds in the incident. A suspect hasn't been identified. Adams was one of the top defensive linemen recruits in the country. I'm Mike Hempen.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. An extreme heat watch will go into effect here Wednesday morning. We're looking at areas of haze at times here for today. Otherwise, skies become mostly sunny with a high in the mid-80s. Winds out of the east around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low near 68. By Tuesday, sunshine, high of 88 degrees. Wednesday, sunny and hot, a high of 97. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 73.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money, because you're in charge. Today, you're going to pay down your credit card bill. But you decide when you'll pay it. Before the due date, so those interest charges don't get you. But you decide if you pay it in full. But you definitely should, because again, interest charges. With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, we'll help you find coverage at a fair price. And then you're in charge. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, progressives and liberals and Democrats and all the rest that we want underneath our tent. Yeah, that includes the Republicans who said I made the wrong decision. And the MAGA folks who said I got to sit in the back of the room, but I'm going to hang out with these guys. And the list goes on. We want you as under our tent on all levels, state, local, national, because we know we need you. Because we need each other. But we're not going to beg you. We want you to make that decision on your own, because you should by now have realized, oh my gosh. And I know, guys, some folks don't. this is what cracks me up, Devin. Some people that I follow, I shouldn't say follow, but I watch when they send me texts and emails and all that. I don't really believe. Well, let me put it in a different way. I think there are people who don't want to see success. They just want to whine and complain. And I don't use the B word, but you all know what I'm talking about. It begins with a B and it ends with a H, and it sounds like itch. That one. Okay. But anyhow, our next guest has been with us so many times recently, and this is someone that doesn't use the B word. She just gets stuff done. She writes about it and makes clear her opinions and her positions on a variety of different things. But before she comes on, we got a quick clip we want to play that she and I are then going to talk about. And let's go to the, you know which one.
Welcome back to Face the Nation. We are continuing our conversation now with Connecticut Congressman Jim Himes, who is the ranking member on the Intelligence Committee. Congressman, I want to pick up on that topic. Just statement of fact here. A bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee investigation found that the U.S. intelligence community's assessment of Russian interference in the 2016 election was correct. They deemed it to be so on a bipartisan basis. I'm saying that because today and yesterday, the director of the intelligence community, Tulsi Gabbard, has said that she is referring for prosecution former American officials she accused of treasonous conspiracy, a years-long coup against President Trump, because they assessed Russia had tried to influence the election. This is weeks after the CIA director issued a report critiquing the tradecraft that went into that 2016 assessment. Is there any legal basis for any kind of prosecution here?
None. Absolutely none, Margaret. What you saw from the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was not just a lie, but a very dangerous lie, because when you start throwing around language like sedition and treason, somebody's going to get hurt.
So, welcome to the show, Sarah Jones from Politicus USA, The Daily. Hey, Sarah, good morning and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
You were surprised. You're welcome. And you're probably surprised. What is Richard doing this morning as part of my intro? But you posted, you're like, wait a minute. You guys.
No, actually, what I was thinking, Richard, is that these times have radicalized all of us. I have never spoken that way in my writing in general, but I will tell you that I've been sorely tempted by the Bulgarian in chief. So it is radicalizing all of us. So not a surprise.
Well, what you guys don't know, what I'm referring to, and what Sarah is humbly referring to, she had a great article that she posted that is entitled "Top Democratic Congressman Shatters Tulsi Gabbard's Lie About Prosecuting Obama," and essentially what Representative Jim Himes from Connecticut was saying is that it's a lie, it's a flat out lie, and that what Tulsi Gabbard is doing. And again, I'll let Sarah speak to this to her degree, is just another form of distraction. But in this case, it's also a lie. So, let's share a little bit of your thoughts about your article, Sarah.
Well, I would like to, I think distraction is the name of the game. That's distraction, deflection, and projection. This is always the Trump move, and it's gotten really stale, though. And I just want to give a quote from a senior administration official that was in Rolling Stone, because this will just crystallize everything. That this tells the story about why Tulsi Gabbard is going into the racist dog whistle of prosecute Obama, put him in jail, Quote, "This week was a big kick in the balls," a senior administration official bluntly notes. "It was a lot to deal with, and there were many emotions." Yeah, and those emotions, because they cannot get control of their own base, have led to this frantic, desperate attempt to distract. So what they did was too racist. That's where he always goes, right? He's always going to dip down into racism because that's what usually coalesces his base. So he went for Obama, and he also went for, you've got to go back to your racist names for these sports teams. So in terms of in terms of what Tulsi Gabbard is trying to say about Obama, which is a big, huge lie. What you take away from all that is that the Epstein, his failures and his lies about the Epstein files have been so destabilizing to his base that they cannot coalesce around racism or any new conspiracies, which is very unusual for Donald Trump. He is usually able to point over here, and then his whole base turns, and that's where they move. So he's, pointing arrest Obama, and he thought all the MAGA influencers and everyone else would follow his fingers, but they're not. And just to make sure everybody knows, Tulsi Gabbard's trying to do like a sleight of hand thing where she mentions nobody said, the intel, everybody knew that Russia didn't hack the election. Right. That is true. Everyone knew that Russia did not literally hack the election, and they said that then.
Yep.
They didn't manipulate the voting machines, right? They didn't alter the election results. They did, however, disseminate hacked emails from the DNC. They conducted an influence campaign against Hillary Clinton, and they did all that to help Donald Trump. And that did happen. He will never admit that. It happened. His own people met with, people who had connections to Putin.
Well, I mean,
these things happened.
I'm sorry, Sarah, do you remember the conversation that's now kind of blown over, the conversation about the meeting that they had, I believe it was at Trump Tower, and Don Jr. talked about having that information on Hillary would be great. I'm not quoting it exactly, but that'd be great to have.
Yeah.
So right. The Tulsi Gabbard thing, if you want to call it that, but the Tulsi Gabbard recklessness is maybe a better, more educated word to use, or adult word to use, is clearly what you said. And what strikes me about this is what's so, awful about where she is that this is a person who herself has had interactions with the same leaders of the country. And that's the crazy hypocrisy of it all. And I look at that and I just think, the word that comes to my mind is wow. Talk about the, pot calling the kettle black in terms of associations or not. But to your point, clearly President Obama made it clear that they didn't literally hack the election, but they had influence. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, the whole thing, like, why are they always whataboutisms? Let's talk about Obama. Obama hasn't been president for a long time. Let's not talk about Obama. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. And he was also a very good president, according to experts who determine how a president conducted themselves and whether or not their presidency was successful, and whether or not it upheld laws. So these are all things Donald Trump can't claim. He is a failed president. No one is going to ever say that he had a good presidency. So why they always want to point fingers and talk, they're just so childish. And I would say about her, it's a good thing you pointed that out. Of course, it's the hypocrisy, the projection. This is all deliberate. These are not accidental things that everything is, oh, my God, what these people, why are you being so hypocritical? I mean, look at their obsession with the Epstein files, and yet they're not saying what we all know to be true.
That's exactly right.
Why don't you have all this information? Gee, I wonder why.
And if you're the group that's supposed to be leading the country on all conversations, and everybody's supposed to yield and genuflect to your greatness, then why the chaos and the turmoil over this Epstein situation? And what I'm curious to find out, since we're talking about Russia, is what sort of Russian involvement is there in this Epstein situation? And I call it a situation because I don't know what the other better words would be. And this Epstein tragedy maybe is a better word. But how much is Russia? And again, granted, for everybody, I'm saying this with a little bit of a speculative tone. But does Russia have some involvement in this Epstein tragedy? And what I mean by that is this: not literally, but Trump's part as it relates to but let's pull this one out of the dusty cabinet, the PP tape. And all of his, potential misdeeds while he was in Russia. And so,
yeah.
Sorry, I don't know.
No, I think, and I can't remember. He has so many scandals that
That's the part.
I never believed the PP tape thing. But that's not to say it's not true. I think there's a lot that Putin has on him for sure. But it's interesting that you bring that up, because look at the timeline. It was just several weeks ago that Donald Trump, claimed that he has finally figured out that Putin might not be on our side, might not be on his side. And why did that happen, right? Because we all knew, everyone's been telling that he should know Russia is a hostile nation to the United States and to democracy and to Western democracy. Everyone's been telling him that, but he is one of those people who is probably the least intelligent person in the room, and therefore can't figure out that he is not the most intelligent. He always thinks that he is the most intelligent person in the room because he is so limited cognitively. And I say that, and it's not meant as an insult to him. This is just a fact. He is not very intelligent. He is very wily. He is very crafty. He is very good at being sort of a mafia boss. He's very good at forcing people to do things against their will and using the legal system to abuse people. But that does not mean that he's intelligent. And I mean, he cannot take concepts learned here and apply them to a new situation. He just doesn't have, so he never learns that he was wrong last time and that he believed a conspiracy last time. So what can he do differently? He doesn't ever think that way because he's not very intelligent. So why did what happened? Well, what happened is that what they claim happened is that Melania told him that Putin isn't very nice. Why did she say that? Because after he got elected this time, Putin had something to do or brought up her nude modeling photos, which was very undermining thing to do. I mean, I do remember the Russian media talking about that a lot and laughing at her and laughing at him. And so I think that if they were, so he just said, gee, I think, Putin isn't very nice. And I think maybe maybe he's not right about this war. That's just what he's.
It's the latest.
We don't ever know, actually. We don't actually know what he's thinking because he doesn't ever really finish a sentence, and he has these phrases, right, where he can't be held accountable for anything. But it seemed like he might have been suggesting that maybe Putin was wrong in the war. So this would be an ideal time for Putin to bring up this Epstein file thing and to make that, to disseminate these talking points in the right-wing influence sphere. Yes.
I think that part of the reason that he's trying to create that, and first of all, it's the latest thing he heard. We all know we've seen it in terms of how Donald Trump operates. The latest thing that he's heard is what comes out of his mouth in the next time he's in a public space. And sometimes it's to your point, it's disconnected from anything close to reality. However, I think that the situation with Tulsi Gabbard and her need to go after President Obama and others is purely a distraction from the ominous elephant that's in the room when it comes to Trump and his misdeeds. And the biggest misdeed, the phrase, it's not the crime, it's a cover-up. And now the cover-up is spreading to other folk. And you wrote a great, and I'm making a little bit of a pivot intentionally because I know that you've got something to say about this. And by the way, folks, we're talking with Sarah Jones of Politicus USA and The Daily. Sarah, talk a little bit about, as we talk about cover-up, and it's not the crime, but it's a cover, but talk a little bit about an article that you posted on Mike Johnson is engaged in a Trump and Jeffrey Epstein cover-up. Let's chat about that a little bit.
Well, do you mind if I say something before we get into that?
Sure.
I appreciate that. I just, you know what? I hear that everyone is talking about this whole Epstein thing, and what I feel is left out of this conversation. And as a woman, I really want to censor this for a moment for everyone that's listening. This is about elites taking advantage of women and girls, and they've been allowed to do that by this corrupt legal system, corrupt politicians. And Epstein didn't even deny doing these things, but he compared it to stealing a bagel. And for all the women and the girls in this country who have been really struggling, because all of this is very triggering for women. Most women they know somebody or it's happened to them. They have been on the side of being dehumanized in this culture. And that is the leitmotif of Donald Trump's existence. He dehumanizes women and girls. He's done it from sexualizing his young daughter to becoming an adjudicated sexual assaulter to burying his former wife and mother of his children on a golf course for a tax break. And the only people who have paid any price for the Epstein file, the Epstein horrible sex trafficking and abuse and rape of young women and of girls are women.
Yep.
Ghislaine Maxwell. And I just want to say for everyone, I see you. I know how hard this is. It's so wrong. This is an injustice of such epic proportions to have a president who we all knew this was who he was. And all of these people supported him. And it is a horrible thing every day for women and girls to know that and to live in this culture. So I just want to, I just wanted to put that out there.
No, thank you for that, Sarah. And I said to myself, I wish that I had been more in line with that from the beginning. And then we talk about the political parts of this, but at the end of the day, you're right for reminding us that this is about human beings who were taken advantage of, women, specifically young girls, as well. And at the end of the day, that is really the story. That's what really matters in this, is that.
Yeah, but nobody talks about it, and that's what's so disturbing.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, and I appreciate you pressing a pause on no matter the cover up, no matter the all this other stuff. Politically, at the end of the day, it was about wealthy people, elite people taking advantage of others less than them monetarily or economically, not less than them from a human being standpoint. Mayor Johnson here in Chicago has used a phrase at our 20th anniversary about regaining our humanity, and that the Democratic Party has the opportunity to do that. And in this conversation, Sarah, to your point, this is about regaining our humanity. And we lost a large part of it by electing Donald Trump the first time, but certainly now the second time. So I appreciate you slowing the train down a little bit and taking time to note that, because that is ultimately what this is about, is taking advantage of people, taking advantage specifically of women and young girls.
And just to tie this back into what you wanted to talk about with Speaker Johnson, this is why he's covering this up, and it's about distancing everyone from our humanity. That is what all of the things that they're doing is about. That if they don't distance us from our humanity, then we are going to be upset when we see armed, masked people kidnapping people off the streets of the United States of America. So if they aren't successful in separating us from our humanity, if they do not manage to make us hate one another, then we will come together, because not left or right, but up or down,
Yep.
And they are very afraid that we will come together, that we will, and I think that is one of the cracks that's happening with the Epstein file scandal. Now, not to suggest that I think that MAGA is going to find a center based in reality when they eventually leave Donald Trump. I don't think that they're going to. Most of them are not going to get comfortable in reality, but some of them will.
Yeah.
And it may be enough, But I think a lot of this is like the Tea Party people. They have been going from one kind of charismatic cultish type leader full of hate to another. And they've based all of this, it's all based on conspiracies. So here's Speaker Johnson, right? Very far right. I think one of the, he's kind of in that whole Seven Mountains mandate. He's in this like dominionist Christian worldview that colors the Heritage Foundation. So I think a lot of people think, oh, he's not that. Well, he is that. Yeah. He is the better dressed, better spoken version of that than Donald Trump. Yeah. But he is absolutely all of those things, and the country is not in good hands when Speaker Johnson is at the helm, and we can see that because he is using all of these procedural moves. He is using all of his power in the House to suppress the Epstein files.
And what's crazy about that, as we wrap up, is for someone who claims to have this particular, way of being when it comes to religion and faith and God and Christianity and all the other words that we put into this, he's absolutely what he's doing is absolutely in opposition from every religious scholar that is far more educated and aware and well-read on Christianity, on faith, on humanity than he ever could be. They're all saying the same thing, those that are critiquing him. What you're doing is, in fact, opposite of what you say you practice and what you believe in. And that's the other hypocritical. We talk about Tulsi Gabbard and her hypocrisy, and now we talk about Johnson and his hypocrisy. Covering up, blocking. Sorry.
Yeah. No. It's worshiping false gods. Donald Trump is his god, and that is who he worships. So all of this effort, taking away food, from babies, to suppressing the Epstein files, all of these things he's doing in service of Donald Trump. He is not doing them in service of his faith. He is not doing these things in service of God, in service of Jesus, which that's who he claims to worship. But it's very clear that that's not who he worships. He worships Donald Trump and MAGA. He worships being the worst kind of human being that it is possible to be on this entire planet.
Yeah, and it's the hurtful part of it is, he would rather trade for Donald Trump against his own elected constituents that elected him, and then all the rest of the people in the country take a back seat to him praising Donald Trump and running cover for Donald Trump. And it doesn't surprise me though, Sarah, because I want to circle back to what you said about humanization and dehumanizing. For decades, if not centuries, and I'll go back to enslavement, that's been the playbook, not part of, but that's been the playbook when it comes to taking away humanity. If we can do that and dehumanize people, and I say that specifically about my culture and community, and we can do the same thing with women, it makes them look like the bad person, the enemy, the ugly one, the disgusting one. And we can, by further dehumanizing them, which is happening with these raids, then we can get other people to think that those are the bad people, those are the awful people. And guess what? Because we've dehumanized them, they're not godlike. So we have the right to make this our platform and to further dehumanize them. And that is what the Republican Party stands for right now, nothing else.
That is exactly right. And I'm so glad you brought up enslavement as an example, because there isn't really a more perfect example of that in our country and our history. And we see this in the modern day through our policing. So these ideas, this dehumanization of other people, all of that, of course, is used by the elites to divide those of us that are not in the top 1%, is to keep us all fighting one another and fighting for survival and being dehumanized so that they can basically rob us. That is how that's always worked, and that is what it is, a tool of manipulation. And I think it's been very crystallized here in terms of what they just passed with the quote big beautiful bill.
Yeah.
To steal from all of us for their own benefit. And what are they doing to distract and to justify this is they are dehumanizing wide swaths of people, of the population. And in terms of women, and in terms of Speaker Johnson, he is someone who thinks that abortion is evil. What is evil? He is over here covering up the sexual abuse and sexual trafficking of children.
Yep.
And he's going to sit here and tell women that they are some kind of horrible person because they want control of their bodies when they're raped or somebody in their family commits incest against them.
Yeah.
And then they end up pregnant. You see, it's all, to me, this is all, as you put this so perfectly, but it is all full. It is what they are. There is no other story. This is the story.
That's it.
And it is really awful.
And that's why we are fortunate to have, and I say this all the time, and I thank you for this. Folks, speak your voice. Make your message known. Do not sit on your hands. Do not sit on your words. If it means starting your own Substack, if it means starting your own podcast, if it means whatever, do that, because your voice being out there is a part of how we stay connected and how we fight together to keep our country from falling in on it, caving in on itself. So Sarah Jones is one of those people that's doing it, Politicus USA and The Daily. Sarah, thanks for being with us this morning. It's always a pleasure and joy to have you on the show, and it puts a smile on so many people's faces. So we appreciate you being part of our work.
Oh, thank you so much, Richard. I love being on your show, so thank you for having me, and thanks to your audience. I love how engaged they are, and that keeps me going to have that kind of feedback. It does. We all need it.
Yes, we do. All right, Sarah, thanks for being with us today. Happy Monday and happy weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Good. Thanks.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line, and we will be right back.
Is your upper floor too hot in the summer? Are energy bills climbing with every degree? Green Attic can help. With over 15 years of experience and more than 1,000 five-star reviews, Green Attic is a trusted Chicagoland name for insulation, ventilation, and roofing solutions that improve comfort, energy efficiency, and indoor air quality. They specialize in attic insulation, spray foam, crawl space encapsulation, mold remediation, and solar attic fan installation, all designed to keep your home cooler in the warmer months. Green Attic also offers full-service roofing through Green Attic Roofing, including traditional and solar roofing systems with instant online quotes and long-lasting, eco-friendly materials. Green Attic backs its work with the industry's only 10-year labor warranty, plus lifetime warranties on selected materials. Schedule a free installation consultation at greenattic.com or get an instant roofing quote at greenatticroofing.com. That's greenattic.com and greenatticroofing.com.
When it comes to banking, you need a bank you can trust. A bank with a rock-solid reputation and the highest integrity. A bank that gives you the attention and respect you deserve.
ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922, and we've made our name on deep expertise, best-in-class service, and a strong commitment to our customers. We know the Chicago business market inside and out and can help you craft the perfect banking solution, no matter what type of business you're in.
And if you're looking for a banking partner for your labor union, we can bring the type of expertise that only comes from a bank that was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders to this day.
Whether you need a deposit account, loan, trust services, or investment management, ABOC has you covered. Let's work together to manage your finances today while planning for a better tomorrow. ABOC, a bank built on a strong foundation.
Visit aboc.com to learn more. Member FDIC.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. An extreme heat watch will go into effect here Wednesday morning. We're looking at areas of haze at times here for today. Otherwise, skies become mostly sunny with a high in the mid-80s. Winds out of the east around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low near 68. By Tuesday, sunshine, high of 88 degrees. Wednesday, sunny and hot, a high of 97. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 73.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Scott Adams and a bunch of other MAGA influencers are arguing that they can't release the Epstein list because it would be bad for the Republicans in the midterm elections. And that basically tells you everything you need to know. Right, about what's in there. And look, maybe this is the one time they're telling the truth about something. I doubt it. But, like, they don't have any credibility on this. And if you go back to the beginning of Donald Trump's entire political career, I wrote about this morning in my Substack, Endless Urgency, is that Trump's political career has always been rooted in conspiracy theory world. He made his real first foray into politics through birtherism. That's at least when I became aware of him politically and not just as like a sideshow host that I'd see on like WWE and The Apprentice. And so to see him do that, like he gave people who felt like they didn't have a political home, he gave them a home. And that's the foundation of MAGAism. And then you see that play out with him arguing repeatedly that there were Muslims celebrating 9/11 on rooftops and he could see it through his building. The election conspiracy lies, the assassination conspiracy theory lies. So it's all foundational. And then he promised them the truth on Epstein.
So I don't know where to start. Should I start with the fact that my man Mike Nellis, who's with us on the line, self-proclaimed said, okay, I've gotten into the shape that I want to be to get a kayak, or do I want to start with your conversation around this doggone Epstein tragedy? But first of all, Mike, welcome to the show. Secondly, congratulations on your kayak, and you can tell us a little bit about to have some fun. But good Lord. That was a clip that was a conversation that Mike had with Katie Fang, who I miss, and she's phenomenal. But Mike, welcome to Choose Views. How you doing this morning, man?
I'm good. You know, all my friends are running around making fun of me. They're like, Mike bought a boat. Mike's a boat guy now. And I'm like, it's a kayak.
Yeah, you want to just go, listen, the joke is on you. I got a kayak and you don't have a kayak. I have a kayak. Right, that's the joke, because I love how you put it out there. I did the work to drop the weight. And let me just say this about my man Mike. Mike did the work that so many of us want to do and has dropped a tremendous amount of weight over the last year to 2 years' time. And he's put the work in. And to the point now where he's very public about it. And he's been very supportive of people who are on that journey to lose weight and to get in the best shape that they can be in. And now my man doesn't have to shoehorn himself into a kayak. He can get in the less stressful way. So I got to give you your props there, because that is, I know the journey, and so kudos to you, man, and being strong enough to put that out publicly. So there you go. You knew I was going to say something about Richard. That, man.
I didn't. I honestly, like, every time I tweet, I forget what I post immediately afterwards. So then somebody will bring it up, and I'm like, what? How do you know I bought a kayak?
Oh, I pay attention to you. That's how I know. But
I appreciate it.
Listen, man, you nailed it. And, of course, we had to edit out the one part that you and I love to do, which is to cuss. But yeah,
well, we can't get you guys fined again.
No, we just can't let that happen. But doggone it, I mean, you were so right on about your observation when you were talking with Katie. I mean, let's dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty fired up about this, and what I've come to the conclusion of is that this is emblematic of everything that's wrong with Donald Trump and everything that's wrong with Republicans in Congress right now, which is, the United States government at the moment is a protection and enrichment racket for rich and powerful people who never get held accountable for anything. And it doesn't matter if it's Donald Trump and Pam Bondi clearly sweating through their suits on the Epstein case for God knows what reason. And, like, look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I believe Donald Trump's in there. And like I said, maybe this is the one time he hasn't done anything wrong. I doubt it. But maybe this is the one time he's telling the truth. But either way, they are covering up and protecting a lot of very wealthy people, up to and including like Steve Bannon, who's very close with Donald Trump. Elon Musk says that Bannon is in the list and on the file and on the plane. But it's the same motivation that led them to cut Medicaid and SNAP and assistance for starving kids to lower taxes for billionaires, which is that the only people that get to succeed in Donald Trump's America are rich, corrupt billionaires and then apparently criminals. That's it. So Donald Trump pardons criminals, pardons cop beaters at the Capitol, takes away people's health care, cuts billionaire taxes, and then covers up the Epstein case so that nobody gets held accountable for preying on little girls on an island.
Yeah.
That's everything that's wrong with Washington.
It's everything that's wrong with Washington, and it goes back to something that I said earlier when I was talking with Sarah Jones about humanity. That is all of that Mike just listed, guys. All of those actions are about being humane or taking away humanity, or not showing any humanity or care for folk. And you were spot on with something that you also posted when you talked about the files and Representative Nancy Mace. I don't even want to call her a representative, but Nancy Mace. I've got some words for her that would not be allowed to be said in public, or at least not on the airwaves. She was all up in the business about, we want the Epstein files to be released, and we want to see what's there. But to your point, she's the same person that voted against releasing the Epstein files. So which one is it, Nancy? Once again, she's caught up in her own hypocrisy and her own lies and her own BS.
Well, and this is when I was a kid, I used to promise that I'd do stuff for my dad all the time, like mow the lawn and do the dishes. He'd call me an Atna, which said I'm all talk, no action. And that's what these Republicans are. They're all talk, no action. Every single time the Democrats have forced a vote on releasing the Epstein list, every single Democrat has voted for it, and every single Republican has voted against it. And that tells you everything about what is in those files, because they are terrified. So they want to throw red meat to their base. And if you go on X right now, X is a cesspool, so is Truth Social, with Donald Trump just playing the greatest hits of everything that the far right and the MAGA movement are angry about. They're like, oh, we're going to throw Adam Schiff in prison. Oh, we're going to throw Barack Obama in prison. Let me go attack Rosie O'Donnell. Let me do this. Because they don't want to talk about Epstein, and they don't want to talk about the economy. Because Donald Trump has seen the same polling numbers that I am, which is that every day more and more Americans are getting very, very frustrated and abandoning any belief that he's going to do anything to improve their lives. CBS poll out this weekend, Donald Trump started at 53% on day one, which is way too high, but that's where he started. And now he's all the way down to 42%. And every day more Americans are losing that honeymoon shine. And it's going to keep going down. And I think he's going to probably settle somewhere between 35 to 38%, especially as the tariffs start to really impact prices. And you're seeing that Walmart is hiking up prices right now. And there are so many Americans who shop at Walmart and so many other companies who base their pricing on what Walmart is doing so that they can compete. So this is going to be a very devastating political situation for Donald Trump. And he's going to mostly care about stealing the China and putting money in his pocket, but he's in politically tough territory right as we're about to approach the midterms. And we've got elections coming up this November for governor in New Jersey and Virginia, and we're going to get a taste of what that's going to look like for them. I think that's a really good point there, and I don't want to shift too far one way or the other, because there are a couple things I want to get your opinion on, and I'll come back to the upcoming elections. But Mike mentioned something about Mike mentioned a poll, and let's kind of dig into that a little bit, or at least we'll come back to that. The CBS poll on Trump's handling of the inflation. So in March, you guys, 46% of the polls showed that they approved of how Trump is handling inflation. 54% disapproved. In June, that number dropped, or the number shifted. 39% approved, 61% disapproved. Now, and this poll was taken over the weekend, if correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, and we can talk about this, that number of approval is down to 36%. The disapproval is at 64%. The reason that's important, there's a number of reasons why that's important and significant, but it's trending in the wrong direction for a guy who ran on, I alone can fix this. I'm the person that can bring this to the table. And conversely, lover or hater, whatever we have to do about fixing the Democratic Party, and we're going to talk about one little thing I wanted to ask you about. The one thing that was clear that was said is that I can fix this, and that Kamala Harris is going to destroy the economy. And inside of 6 months, has done jack doo-doo, to use your phrase, and clean it up a little bit, on this biggest campaign. See, I come prepared, Mike, because I know you and I would slip up and we'd say some stuff. But to Mike's point. And this is why I'm an internet commentator and not on the radio with you every morning.
I got you, man. I got you. But to Mike Nellis's point, Donald Trump has done jack doo-doo on his biggest campaign promise, and the numbers are trending in the wrong direction. And some of the things that will accelerate that trend haven't really touched home yet. Am I right, or am I crazy?
No, you're right about that. I mean, there is a reckoning coming on tariffs in the coming weeks and months. And it's happening a lot more slowly because Donald Trump keeps swinging back and forth. But, like, he implemented a bunch of new tariffs last week in what I think was a desperate attempt to, like, change the topic again and to get us to take the bait. And if you'll notice, nobody's taking the bait. Doesn't matter if it's the far right or the Democratic Party. Everybody's like, hey, you need to release these Epstein files like you promised. I've never seen a scandal drag out for Donald Trump the way that this one has.
Yeah.
But I want to reframe something on the Democratic Party. Look, I'm the first person to tell you the Democratic Party is a deeply flawed institution with a lot of things that we've got to fix now and in the coming years. It is still the only party in America that cares about whether or not you have a good paying job, can retire with dignity, and can start a family, buy a house. And as imperfect as we are, and as often as we word police and focus on the wrong issues and say and do really stupid stuff, we are still the only party that cares about regular people. And it can be a lot better, and we have to earn back people's trust. But the reason that I haven't abandoned the Democratic Party in my darkest moments when I'm frustrated with my leadership or my elected officials is because I know at least I'm in a boat with people who care about everyday Americans, who fight for the little guy, who fight for working class Americans. That's what I want, and I'll never become a Republican, at least this version of the Republican Party, which only cares about billionaires and criminals. Period.
And did I sense a little snicker in your voice when you said boat because you knew I was thinking kayak?
Yep. We're gonna need a bigger boat.
We're gonna need a bigger boat. Oh man, what you? And listen, we watched Jaws weekend before last weekend because it was the 50th anniversary of it. But so, Mike, let me come back to something that you said, and that that is how we get better, is we recognize the stuff that in our deepest, darkest, like what the heck, that we go, okay. We need to rebuild, and we're going to get stronger and be better. But we acknowledge it, and then we go, okay. But who are the people that are really in my corner, even in those darkest of moments? And it's the guy or the gal next to me that, although we may not have gotten it right, we're still here working together to try to get it right. And I need to get your commentary on this, and then I'm going to talk about one other thing before we wrap up. You talked about being wasteful and hurting people, and how this administration is doing that stuff, and then having to find a distraction to recover from the stupidity and the harmfulness. And I'd like to get your take on the burning of the 500 tons of food that I just, to your point about feeding babies and feeding folks in general, but talk about waste, fraud, and abuse, but they're going to burn. You take the baton. I can't even get the words out of my mouth, man.
Look, they've got all these packets of dry food that they help to feed people overseas, and they've gutted USAID and they've gutted foreign help to other countries. And I can feel the way I feel about that. But even just setting aside the politics of whether or not we should be helping people, we got all of this food, and there are tens of millions of Americans that are food insecure in this country, and then there's hundreds of millions of people who are food insecure around the world. And you're telling me the might and power of the United States government, which I am told is so great and so vast, and I believe it's great and vast, can't find a way to put this food into people's mouths? Like, they're burning all this food. It's so wasteful and it's so ridiculous. And again, you talked about empathy, and you talked about just caring about other people. It's so hard for me not to curse when you bring up topics like this, because it's just like, look, a core part of my value system as a human being, let alone a Democrat. Forget Democrat. When I wake up in the morning, it's not the first thing I think about. But like, as a human being, is like, I'm my brother's keeper and I'm my sister's keeper. It's my responsibility to take care of the people in my life, my immediate family, my community, my city, my state, my country, etc. I just want people to be okay. And I'm not like a bleeding heart liberal. I understand that there's real limitations to what we can or cannot do, and sometimes my party goes a little bit too far. But God, we could have found a way to get that food in the hands of people who are hungry, whether they're in Gaza or they're in Ukraine or they're in the Sudan or they're here at home. I don't care. The lack of creativity is disgusting to me, that they would burn all of this food, and it's just, they're not thinking about how to help anybody.
Nope.
Anybody.
And in the face of this, and in the face of this, trying to then pretend to be this party, going back to what I was saying to Sarah about Mike Johnson, trying to be this party that's all about, we're Christian this, we're Christian that, we're faith-based people, yada, yada, yada. But some of the most basic things, and you use the word creativity. This is what popped into my brain, Mike, creativity. Okay, so let's say that a portion of those items may have been spoiled or close to spoiling. Okay, well then, this is where, by taking people away from a program that's designed to help people, you would have been able to save some of that by keeping your hands off of the people and the staffing that would have been able to at least go in and determine, talking about being creative, which of this food is still usable. The other maybe we do have to get rid of, and then the rest we can still get to folks in need. Do you see where my brain went? It's like, okay, you got rid of the people who would help to prevent this from happening, and you still chose to get rid of the food. The easy thing would have been to live the damn thing alone in the first place.
Yep. Well, and let me reframe the conversation in a way for like how it impacts the vast majority of Americans. All right, we got USAID. We're not going to provide as much assistance around the world. We withdraw. Our power and authority in those areas also withdraws. And it's not that money isn't being spent to help people in Africa and around the world in places where America was doing that. China is now spending that money, and Russia is now spending that money. So not only are we abdicating our responsibility from an empathy and a moral standpoint, which is wrong, we're also making America less powerful and safe on the world stage. I don't know about you, Richard. I don't sleep better at night knowing that China is stronger than the United States all around the world.
And then again, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike. I apologize.
No, I was just going to say it's bad foreign policy, and it's bad moral leadership, and it's just bad and stupid. And it's everything that's wrong with this administration in a nutshell. Not helping anybody unless they're criminals or corrupt billionaires.
Yeah, and those criminals and corrupt billionaires could be in another country. That's the part that
Well, most of them are, if they're paying taxes at all, they're paying it to another country.
Exactly. And I'll probably get in a little bit, I won't get in any trouble here. I'm going to say what I got to say. But, we talk about how much money goes to other places in the world. How many of those places are doing things that are harmful to people versus that money going to places in the United States that could benefit from it? And I'm talking about from Detroit to Appalachia. But yet we're going to burn 500 tons of food when, to Mike's point, then it opens the door for other less humane countries to step in and take our place at the table, which is it's an abdication of responsibility. And listen, MAGA, Republicans, GOP, whatever you all are calling yourselves, and even if you're soft in the middle, you need to buck up, because that's where we're going to ultimately get hurt. I agree with Mike. I don't sleep any better at night knowing or thinking about the possibility that one of these other more dictatorial countries that have been that way for a while is taking a seat at the table when we should have maintained our presence. But there you go.
Well, can I just add?
Yeah.
Can I add on this? Like, how you spend your money is a reflection of your values. So, like, when I get my paycheck every 2 weeks, I put money away for my son to go to college. I pay down my mortgage. I put money away to retire. And then I go do fun things like buy a kayak for people to make fun of me with. And that's all well and good. That's the way I live my life, and that's the way it should be done. But when the United States government's got money to spend, it's never spending that money to make sure that people have quality and affordable health care. It's never making sure that we can have fewer homeless people on the streets. And we're constantly told America is broke, our debt and our deficit are too high, it's all going to fall apart. But man, when billionaires need another tax cut, or there's foreign governments that I don't agree with that need more missiles to go terrorize people with, when it's ICE needs to 10x their budget so that they can pull people out of Home Depots and field trips and send them to a country they're not even from. Man, the Republican Party never stops to go, man, is this a good use of money? Are we being wasteful here? Are we the problem? No. They've always got money for that. They've never got money to help anybody else. And again, we can disagree on the margins on how we make sure everybody has health care, how we solve the homeless crisis, how we fix these things and improve people's lives, but they're not even trying to solve it. And that's why, I've been making this argument for a long time about the size of the Democratic Party tent, because there are a lot of people that want to tell you, well, this person can't be a Democrat and this person can't be a Democrat, and they'll say, Zohran Mamdani is too liberal and too socialist to be in the Democratic Party, and Joe Walsh is a former Republican congressman, he can't be in the Democratic Party, and it's nonsense. The one thing I have in common with Joe Walsh and Zohran Mamdani is that they see the same problems. They're trying to solve the same problems. Maybe we disagree about how to do it, but I know if the three of us sat in a room, we'd be able to compromise and figure it out, because we actually see what reality looks like for 80% of Americans. And we need more people like that are just trying to get stuff done.
And that's the challenge. I don't know if the challenge is the right word, but I think that's where more people want to be. I say us, I mean all of us to be. It's where we can get into a room and say, I don't have to like the fact that you wore, green shoes today. The rest of your outfit's pretty hip. So let's go ahead and figure out how we're going to get some stuff done. I think that we literally have to I don't want to say get back to that, but we have to get to a point or be at a point where we're willing to be in that mindset. You mentioned Joe Walsh. He's going to be on the show on Thursday. So he and I are going to talk about a number of things.
I love Joe. Tell him I said hi.
I will do that. That'll be an interesting interview, and I'm looking forward to chatting with him. Mike, great to have you as always. I'm not being facetious or being a knucklehead when I say to you, kudos to you for making your way into a kayak, because I know that the work that you put in to get yourself physically and all the rest in a position where you could say, hey, man, I'm getting a kayak now. I do have a boat, and it's one that I paddle around myself because I'm self-sufficient. For all you folks out there that want to tease me, yeah, I got a boat. So what about it? So,
well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Mike Nellis, who is one of the leading voices in this conversation about how we get stuff done, how we fix stuff, and how we make some things better. Mike, how can people follow you? How can they tap into where you are and where you're writing and where you're posting?
Yeah, my main hub right now is on Substack. You can just find me at endlessurgency.com. It's completely free for everybody. I take paid subscribers at $8 a month to help pay for like editing costs, but I want to keep it free for everybody. And then I'm on every major platform. You can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, TikTok, Instagram. Try to do my best to respond to people and try to keep the cursing to I don't have to keep it to a minimum on the internet, so I just keep it to a minimum on the radio.
That's why you have me, so we can line those things up. So
yeah, you could be my truth sayer for my person.
Right on. All right, Mike. Good to hear your voice, man. Glad you're well, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks. Talk to you.
All right. Bye now. Yeah. I appreciate Mike's candor when it comes to this craziness and these conversations that we all have to have. So many more things I could have talked with him about, but I know that we really wanted to lean into this Epstein situation. But more broadly, the hypocrisy that is run over the Republican Party. And I think that hypocrisy is applicable because they speak about, here's what we represent, here's who we are, here's how things have to be. But in reality, that's not really what they do. And it's not even shameful now. It's our responsibility to highlight it and to point it out. And to Mike's point, we are not going to agree on everything that we're going to do and how we're going to get it done. But we have to agree on the similar thing, which is we have some problems that the Republicans are continuing to pour gasoline on. We got to not only take the gasoline out of their hands, we got to turn the spigot off. It starts with us, y'all. It just does. But in making your life count, what do you have to first do? Take a deep breath. Make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. That's 800-708-3091.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
Wise decision-making is perhaps the greatest factor that determines success or failure in life.